Patrick has been fortunate to work on a number of great projects over the years in northern Michigan and Wisconsin, projects that have made a big impact on communities. 2 years ago, he decided it was time to leave northern Michigan and a design firm that had been with for 24 years, and he made a big move to the northern state of Anchorage, Alaska. I think if he keeps moving one more time, maybe he'll end up in the Arctic. He keeps going north. Winter Cities has created many opportunities for Patrick, and he has presented at a number of conferences across Canada, in Japan, Denmark, Sweden, and even in eastern Siberia. The Winter Cities movement is about 30 years old, and the topic has become more relevant than ever as communities are learning that quality of life and citizen attitudes are critical to sustainability. And I understand that Patrick, it's also while he is based in Anchorage, Alaska, is a senior planner for a firm called USKH. And please join me in welcoming Patrick.
Thank you very much, and it's great to be down here in Terrace. You maybe don't hear that very often. Okay, today we're going to talk about Winter Cities, of course, and my thanks to the BC Recreation and Parks Association for inviting me here and to join you today. There's a lot to talk about when we talk about Winter Cities, and hopefully we'll get a chance to cover lots of these topics today, but these are the things that I want to cover. And I'd like to certainly leave time after for questions and answers and so forth and generate some discussion. So back in 1982, I believe the Livable Winter Cities Association defined a winter city as a place where the average temperature in January was less than freezing. And I really like this quote from Arnie Fullerton, who's former architect and city planner in Edmonton. But what the point is that we can learn a lot from each other as we try and resolve winter issues. And I wanted to quickly cover a little history of winter cities, going back to the late 70s when a fellow named Bill Rogers and an architect said we don't really do much for a city in wintertime. There were some big conferences held in the mid-'80s and late 80s in Edmonton, and I was fortunate enough to be able to go to the one in 1988. Certainly found it very inspirational, and it was really great because Houghton, Michigan, where I was working at the time, won an award, and they still really treasure that. They had interconnected their downtown, made it much more walkable and climate responsive for people. There have been a number of conferences held since then, really around the world, and I've been fortunate to have participated in a number of those. And the Livable Winter Cities Association always kind of struggled. It was purely volunteer-driven effort. The membership and the board members were from all over Canada and the United States and even Scandinavia. Very difficult to meet, very difficult to make things work. Those of you who are involved in all volunteer-driven efforts know this. And so things just kind of slowly ebbed away. And a few years ago I made a proposal to the remaining directors of the association to take things over and really to revitalize it, to reinvent it, if you will, as the Winter Cities Institute. And we launched that this past year. And George Paul also is here, who was a part of that Livable Winter Cities group and the transition. And it's going very well. And a little bit of information about that. We're web-based. And our membership is growing. We have a lot of resources on there that are available to everybody who visits the site. And then if you join the Institute, you have access to a lot more. We have a discussion board, went online this week, where people can post questions and learn and network with people really from all over across Canada, United States, and hopefully other northern regions of the world as well. So I invite you to go to the website perhaps tomorrow or in the future and see what it's all about. But as we talk about Canada and certainly the United States, we know we have great variations in winter conditions. To the south of us here in Vancouver, I don't know if you call that the banana belt or not, but certainly I would call it that. Not much of a winter city, but much of Canada does experience winter in one degree or another. And the same, of course, is true in Alaska, the southeast part, which is really not all that far from where we are today. Experiences climate much like Vancouver, Seattle, but then we have the northern part, the interior of Alaska, where it is much different. But I did a little research and came up with some basic climate data about how winter conditions vary in some communities here in BC as well. What happened there? As well as some other communities that I'm very familiar with, and you'll see that the conditions do vary quite a bit. People are always surprised. Houghton, Marquette, Michigan, which are actually at the latitude of Quebec City, about 46, 47 degrees north, have very comparable winter conditions there, and so forth. Barrow, Alaska, and when I go back to Michigan, people always want to know, how much snow do they have in Alaska? You must have a lot, because Houghton happens to be one of the snowiest places in the world. I think they're hopeful that there's some other place that has more snow than they do. And not many do. But they're always surprised to learn that really much of Alaska is very dry climate, not much snow. And as you go further north in the interior, they just don't get all that much precipitation at all. So I always loved collecting these little sayings about wintertime. It's always kind of fun to make fun of winter. But the third quote there, it's men are snow cold and isolation, that's against you from the get-go. That came from a Baltimore-based consultant group that was working. I was on a team and we were working at former K.I. Sawyer Air Force Base in Michigan, which had closed. They're trying to find reuse possibilities. And basically this consultant was saying, you're going to have a tough time because nobody wants to come here, And that was quite devastating to the community. I saved that one. And then you have these lists that people make. This one happened to be the National Weather Service decided arbitrarily that they were going to decide what communities had good weather and what communities had bad weather. And so Marquette and Sault Ste. Marie, Michigan, at least, made the list of the worst weather in the United States. And, of course, the local people didn't think too much of that. I really love the old Scandinavian saying that there's no bad weather, only bad clothing. So I'd like to know here in this room, where you're all at in terms of your attitude about wintertime. And Norman Pressman, actually, who wrote, he wrote the little booklet that's in your packet today and has written more about winter cities than probably anybody else, came up with these 6 levels of winter acceptance. So how many here are endure winter, hate winter? Nobody. Oh, you're all good Canadians. Great. Tolerate. Come on now, be honest. Okay, we've got a few. Accept. Winter. Okay, a few more. Respect. Okay, a few more. Appreciate. Oh, lots. Great. And celebrate. Okay, lots.